Ayun, clear naman. Cadets. Questions? Okay.
So, ayun, Cadet. Pwede yung na-open pa rin yung Zoom meeting na ito. So, kung meron kayong dalawang gadget dyan, so pwede yung isa ay nasa phone ninyo, at ang isa ay sa may laptop niyo.
Good morning, everyone. We will start our program in 5 minutes.
Ama's awake already.
Okay. Hello? Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So let us start. Hello. Okay. Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, cadets, cadet officers, fellow vanguards, cadets. Can everyone hear me?
Yung video ko, pakilaki yan.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let us start. Okay, wait lang.
Could you please skip forward?
All right. So good morning. I think yeah, there you go. We have to mute everyone there. So just before I proceed, welcome everyone to the Vanguard Leadership Series 2. And yeah, let us just I just like to remind everyone to remain muted. So and also maintain a respectful environment throughout the whole series. And yeah, I think that's about everything for our house rules. So let us all rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem. Yeah, let us just
Kulay! Go! Tunghol! Kulay!
okay. So once again, welcome everyone to the second year of our Vanguard Leadership Series. I am Vanguard Camille Joyce Chua, class of 2015, and I will be your host for today. So the flow of our program today is quite simple and straightforward, as you can see. So first, we would like to welcome all of you, then proceed immediately to the main event of our webinar today, a talk by General Madrigal. And then a talk by General Madrigal on understanding insurgency as a national security concern. Then we will listen to some insights and reaction from Dr. Cabalza. Then this is followed by a question and answer portion. Okay, so with the question and answer portion, please send your questions to our meeting chat box. Now, for those watching on YouTube Live, you may send your questions on the comment section, and I have my awesome staff to help me with that. Okay. All right, so majority of our participants are cadets of UPROTC. We have cadets from UP Diliman. Woo! Okay, okay, I will pretend that I heard all your cheers from here. Okay, and we also have cadets from UP Los Baños, and I know that UP Los Baños cadets, you're all watching from YouTube Live. Yes, and we also have cadets from UP Baguio and UP Visayas. It's so exciting to gather all of you in one event, and it's only possible because we're all virtual now. So now this event is hosted by the UP Vanguard Makati chapter, and let us hear from our chapter commander, Vanguard Kenneth Hartigan Go, class of 1982, for the welcome remarks.
A pleasant good morning to one and all, ladies and gentlemen, and our distinguished resource persons who will be introduced appropriately later on. My name is Kenneth Hartigan Go, the chapter commander of the UP Vanguard Makati chapter. In 2019, the Makati chapter launched an innovative program called the Vanguard Leadership Series. And the first Vanguard Leadership Series was anchored on leadership. How can we help a UP student to apply leadership principles? And this was curated from the principles of military leadership because of their studies in ROTC. And how can they apply this leadership in their professional lives? We completed that series months ago. And as this new academic year is coming in our partnership with UP ROTC and our commandant, Colonel Jaime Datuin, we now launch the Vanguard Leadership Series #2. And second leadership series is now anchored with the theme of national security. What do we need to know and what do we need to apply in this understanding of policies and principles of national security? If we were to couch the importance of national security in our lives, this is an interdependent discipline. It covers science, business, engineering, economics, agriculture, food security. This is what we intend to take on in the next few months, what students have to know and apply. The message that we're sending here is the development of our society is an important side of the same coin as our nation's security. So with that, I'd like to welcome everybody to this show, and I hope you will stay on and understand these important aspects that defines the progress of our country. So thank you. Back to you now, Camille.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Kenneth, for welcoming our participants today. So let's proceed to... Okay, so just as what Vanguard Kenneth mentioned a while ago, we launched BLS last 2019, and it was about the 11 principles of leadership. And indeed, we learned a lot from our guest speakers. So following the success of the first series, we decided to do a sequel. So yeah, we hope that you can all attend all 10 sessions throughout the next few months. So now let me introduce to you our honored guest speaker. He graduated from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños in 1980 before joining PMA in 1981. He eventually graduated as a member of the PMA Sandiwa class of 1985. He underwent various local and international trainings, such as the Infantry Officer Advanced Course, Special Security and Intelligence Course, and so many more. He holds not only one, but 2 master's degrees. One is Master's in Management Studies from University of New South Wales, and the other is Master of Public Administration from the Philippine Christian Academy. He is also our former Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, in which he had influential contributions. Some include enhancing the AFP International Security Campaign, establishing solid partnerships with leaders of various levels of government, promoting a culture of professionalism and excellence, and a whole lot more. He received many, many awards that would take me probably the whole day to enumerate. But among these, he was recently awarded the the Philippine Legion of Honor by our president, Rodrigo Duterte, for his meritorious military service and exceptional performance of his duties. So currently, he is the administrator of the Philippine Coconut Authority. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our resource speaker for today is General Benjamin Madrigal Jr., member of UP Vanguard class of 1985.
Thank you, Brad Camille, for the generous introduction. And before I start, I'd like to acknowledge, of course, the presence of our President, Vanguard Kenneth Hartigan-Go, from the Makati chapter. I'd like to acknowledge the presence also of our Deputy Director General for Operations of the National Security Council Secretariat, Undersecretary Vic Agdamag. Sir, thank you for joining us. We also have here, of course, our honored Brad, Attorney Sig Fortun, and of course, our reactor, Professor Chester Cabalsa. And to our dear cadets, just want to check, to correct the in the introduction. I graduated from the University of the Philippines Rural High School in 1980. It was a high school in UP Los Baños, and I took up 1 semester in UPLB agricultural business, agribiz, before I joined PMA. But of course, nasa puso natin ang UP nating mahal. So to start with, of course, our topic for today. Thank you, Brad Kenneth, and of course to the Makati chapter for giving me the honor and the challenge for being the first speaker in both leadership series. So, in the first leadership series, I was the one who gave the overview on leadership. I recently retired in 2019, and now again, I'm given by Brad Kenneth the challenge to discuss an overview on, of course, the national security as a concept. And I asked him that can we focus kasi napakalawak ng national security as a topic. So sabi ko mag-focus muna tayo on one of those areas na talagang that affects our country, and I chose yung malapit din sa aking puso, yung ating problema sa insurgency. And so before I start, I remember when I was chief of staff, there was one a retired senior officer who writes a column in one of our national dailies, who told me, so you're the chief of staff. Sabi niya, I'm writing a column, and I told my readers that almost half of the cabinet now are from the military, retired generals, retired admirals in the armed forces, and some others as undersecretaries and in other cabinet positions. And the reader, one of my avid readers told me, kaya na nga sir, kayo na halos lahat ang nandyan, bakit hindi pa natin matapos-tapos ang insurgency na ito? And he said, I was taken aback. Sabi niya, I did not know what to say. Sabi niya, I hope you can give me that answer. Because I was speaking to them. I was about to give a talk to them. Sige sir, before I answer, let me finish my briefing first or lecture first, then I will answer your question. Ito rin yung ko dito, ang ating idea on what we are to do today. I know you have a lot of questions about insurgency, about the military. So the objective of our lecture, next slide please, is to give you at least an overview, an awareness on national security as a concept, and the insurgency as a national security concern. Why do we consider it a national security concern? Then identify issues or factors that contribute to the perpetuation of the insurgency-related activities. And of course, discuss how the government's approach to address this problem has changed over the years. I say, of course, we have over the years learning experience and over the years having a deeper understanding of the problem, how it all came about to the creation of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-LCAC, which I know many of you are probably wondering, ano ba ibig sabihin, ano ba ang ginagawa ng NTF-LCAC? And that's why I asked the support of Admiral Agdamag, Yusek Agdamag. Sabi ko baka may mga ibang tanong regarding LCAC later on, then we can support each other in answering some of your questions. Next chart, please. Among the references, actually, the references are mentioned in my slides, no. But I'd like to acknowledge itong binigay sa akin ni Prof. Atienza of NDCP, yung lecture on the social construct of national security. No, I got a few slides from there, which I will share with you. And of course, Executive Order number 70. The creation of NTF-LCAC, and some other references which I'll be mentioning in the charts later on. So before we focus on insurgencies, I will give you an overview of national security. National security, kung makita niyo yung mga terminologies doon sa chart na nasa internet naman yan, yung yan. Ang daming concerns, no? Kaya nga sabi, ano ba ang the first school of thought, accordingly, sa national security is territory-centered. No? Yung sabihin, protection of territory. No? Protection of our territory from external intrusion. No? Why? Because at the start, of course, the problem, we were emerging or coming out from the world wars, no? And so the concept of security is how to ensure that you are able to protect your territory. So it was more focused on the military and the defense establishment and the focus on security of the nation or nation state. So kung makita nyo, next chart please, yung mga unang definitions ng national security, no? Sabi, una ito, in 1943, pagtitignan nyo, the nation has security when it does not have to sacrifice its legitimate interests, but if challenged, to maintain them by war. So, military focus, no? 1943. Also, during the Cold War, next chart please, halos ganun din yung naman to, no? Although nag-i-evolve, next chart please. No, sa Cold War, 77 to 81, ito yung definition ni former U.S. Secretary of Defense, the ability to preserve a nation's physical integrity and territory, to prevent disruption from outside and to control its borders. So, territory focus pa rin, no? But eventually, nagkaroon na second school of thought on national security. The second school of thought is about life, no, life or human-centered. Human-centered, the ability to give, produce wealth, no, and to make your people comfortable in living peacefully. So, ang focus is more on market economy, no, producing wealth for the country, ensuring sustainability, no. Dito na yung concept on security and development as among the objectives. Kaya sa second school of thought, among the definition, next chart please. Ito yung state or condition where the people's way of life and institutions. Nandun pa rin yung integrity of the territory, but the welfare and well-being are protected. And yung binanggit din na defense and protection of systems and the institutions of a country to create wealth and value No? So nandun sa, sabi nga, market-centered yung second school of thought. Now, there is an emerging school of thought on national security, which is life-centered, more on hearts and minds. Kasi sabi nga, the threat now does not necessarily be coming physically from the outside. No, kaya nga meron na ngayon yung ng terrorism, if you know, yung na ang mga may mga lone wolf, no, merong through the internet na nakakapag invite ng mga would be members of ISIS and other terrorist groups, no, na hindi necessarily physically pupunta, no, through social media, through online and other and eventually, no, infiltration isa-isa lang, hindi maramihan tao, hindi mo siya makikita, hindi living within our means. So dito na pumasok ngayon yung concept nga ng security na hindi lamang physical but rather targeting hearts and minds of the people. Dapat yung that we live harmoniously, nandiyan yung cultural homogeneity and yung living together peacefully. And so the concept now of national, the objectives now of national security, one of course is territorial integrity. Masiguro natin that we are free from incursions, no, intact ang ating territory under the effective control of government. Second, dapat there should be enough resources, no, to feed our people, to be able to produce sustainable development, no, yung economy, no, ng natin for the benefit of the people and the nation. Third is that there should be socio-political stability, no, yung peace and harmony among divergent groups like us, no, considering that we are an archipelago. Different dialects, different ethnic loyalties, no? May Ilocano, may Mindanaoan, no? May Ilonggo. So how do you create socio-political stability and harmony and mutual cooperation? And of course, economic solidarity through yung with our instrumentalities, functioning, supporting national endeavors to derive economic strength for the people and the country, and of course cultural cohesiveness, no, where people share values and beliefs and that are handed down by forebears and possess a strong sense of national identity, nationalism, no, despite differences in religion, ethnic and linguistic and language. And of course, moral and spiritual consensus. The spiritual wisdom and righteousness of the national vision inspired by patriotism, national pride, no, and national pride. So, and this, of course, maintaining external peace with our neighbors. So ito yung the whole the whole gamut of national security. But sabi nga, babanggitin natin, where does, ito rin yung focus, why I need to focus on insurgency, because sabi nga, we have to strengthen our fundamentals as a country. And this affects, insurgency affects not just our territorial integrity, our economic balance, and of course, socio-political stability, and of course, our national pride and national identity. Now, to go into insurgency, many are, marapakaraming definitions ng insurgency. And there is one senior social strategist from the United States who said that though it is important to define insurgency, what is more important is to understand it. No, understand it in a manner that facilitates the development of effective policies, foreign and domestic, and be able to effectively address the problem. So yun yung gusto nating ma-achieve ngayon, no? Not just definition, but have a deeper understanding of the problem. Next start. Now, there is a among the definitions. This I got the internet. Sabi niya, one, insurgency is a political military struggle. No, it is not a military struggle. Politico-military struggle, tapos directed towards subverting or displacing a legitimate government, completely or partially controlling the resources of a territory. No, maaaring hindi lahat, but a portion. So, iba-ibang klase ng insurgency. One, yung CPP-NPA insurgency is classified under revolutionary, no? Replacing the existing political order. Meron ding reformists insurgency, no? Yung separatists, ito yung katulad, for example, sa yung ano natin sa problem natin sa South, no? Na ayos ng ating pamahalaan ngayon through the creation of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. And yung sabi, yung iba yung resistance. Ito naman yung pag may occupying power, like yung nangyari sa Afghanistan, Iraq, no, is a resistance insurgency from an occupying power. That will focus on revolutionary insurgency. Next chart, please. So, characteristics of insurgency, one, sabi, it is irregular warfare. Ibig sabihin, hindi kasi alam natin mas malakas ang estado, malakas ang military establishment, so they cannot fight head on. So irregular warfare, guerrilla tactics, and the primacy of political mobilization. Ang sabi nga hindi ito gera, but rather sabi nga getting yung winning the heart and the mind, not necessarily peacefully, no, but sabi nga katulad sa sa propaganda, to be able to manage the audience opinion and behavior. But sa terrorism, sabi nga minsan gumagawa ng terroristic activities to shock, to educate, to persuade people to support, and of course to mobilize audiences and to create a spectacle that they are here, that they can create this, challenge the existing order. No? So these are tools na ginagamit sa propaganda and terrorism. Next chart, please. Now, which it is important for us to understand, that insurgency is basically illegal politics rather than warfare. Sabi nga, hearts and minds coming up with a shadow institution to challenge the existing order. Illegal. It is a condition or a form of conflict where, sabi nga, in some instances, government may have a role both not just in de-radicalizing the populace, but sometimes also in radicalizing. Sabi nga, projects not implemented, the seeming problem on bureaucratic red tape, yung perceived or alleged corruption in government. All these red tagging, all these contribute, sometimes to create discontent. That really not only government, but rather makikita nyo later on that the problem emanates also as contributions of some of our other sectors in society, and of course, the link of insurgency through the fundamental aspects of human nature. Now, you will illustrate later on, maraming mga sumasama, iba, not just because they believe in the ideology. Of course, there is that ideology na pinopropose, but minsan yung for varied reasons, for varied reasons. Like sabi niya, nandun yung kanyang boyfriend o na-recruit na medyo maganda o magaling magsalita o kaya galit sa nagalit sa pamilya or so many other reasons. No? We realized that when we were, mamaya doon sa pag-inano ko yun, when we were creating the halfway house for former rebels. No? Next chart, please. So ito sa sa CPP-NPA and the Insurgency, mga two struggles, the armed struggle and the legal struggle. Sabi nga, the principal form is armed struggle. Sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, yung terrorism is also to create a spectacle or to be able to demonstrate to demonstrate yung capabilities, and at the same time, of course, to force people to cooperate, struggle for the purpose of seizing power, and of course, illegal struggle, the secondary form of struggle. Ito yung nandito na yung other kaya nga may sinasabing yung creation of a wide yung front. Democratic Front. Next chart, please. What are common misunderstood concepts? The CPP-NPA do not usually operate through yung tinatawag natin political boundaries. Yung sa kanila usually their boundaries are yung kanilang the center piece of their territory are in the boundaries of our political divisions. Yung malalaking bundok andun sa itaas ng and we will demonstrate that later. Yung concept ng territory. The concept of development, aggression, and social injustice. Ang binabanggit that there is development, but not for the oppressed or but not for the people. Sabi, I remember when may isang contractor na gumagawa ng karsada between Bukidnon and going to Davao del Norte and Agusan del Norte, which will cut travel time by about 7 hours. Napakagandang proyekto, but it will cut through a Dipantaron range, yung isang mountain range, And the contractor approached me when I was Eastern Mindanao Commander. Sabi, sir, kailangan na namin ng security. Sabi ng mga NPA doon, pag kumabante pa kami, susunugin na yung equipment namin. Ang tanong ko sa kanya, sabi ko, una, kinausap niyo na ba yung mga tao doon sa dadaanan ng karsada? Sir, hindi ko problema yun sabi ng contractor. Sabi niya, trabaho yun ng DPWH. Ako, magagawa lang ako ng project ko. Sabi ko, ayan ang problema mo. Sabi ko, kasi pag sinunog, hindi naman equipment ng DPWH susunugin. Equipment mo naman yun. Di ba? But ano ang issues dyan? Sabi ko, one, you will be cutting through a forest reserve, isang mountain range. Daan libong puno yung puputulin ninyo. So environmental issue. So dapat kasama natin ang DNR. Sabi ko, sino ang makikinabang doon sa mga punong sinunog, mga puputol ninyo? Illegal loggers? O may iba pa kayong mga kausap doon para kayo din yung kung sino ang kikita ron? Dapat may share dyan yung dadaanan kasi yung sa kanilang relocation, and magagamit. And of course, magkaroon ng income, not only the local government, but also the tribal territories na dadaanan ninyo. And of course, speaking of the tribal communities, dapat iwasan nyo yung source ng malinis nilang tubig, yung kanilang sacred grounds. Therefore, kasama natin ang NCIP dapat, yung National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. Kasama natin ang local government. So, before we talk of security, sabi ko, kausapin muna natin yung mga tao. And for all you know, pag gawin natin ito, baka wala kayong problema sa security. If the people understands why we are doing this. Because more often than not, ang sasabihin, ng ating mga nasa kabila, no, nung sasabihin, gagawing karsada yan, hindi yan para sa inyo. Yung karsada na yan para gagawing daan para papasok na ang malalaking kumpanya nakakamkam ng inyong mga lupain. No? So the same development project are portrayed as projects meant to oppress some sectors. So I remember also when I was Southern Luzon Commander, no, may sinunugan ng equipment yung ginagawang Bicol International Airport, no, na ngayon natapos na. Noong nasunog ang I was told to go and talk to the people. Ang sabi sa akin ng mga nasa etas ko, hindi, sabihin mo sa kanila, ayaw ba nila yan? That is development. That will create jobs for them dyan sa pag nanitayo ang yung airport. Sabi ko, sir, ang problema, sir, nila, ang mga tao dito, sir, hindi naman sasakay ng eroplano. No? Ang kanilang problema, sir, kasi ang nangyari doon, there was one contractor, phase 1, no, from the previous administration, may phase 2 from the current administration. Ayaw padaanin ng contractors doon sa unang phase, yung bagong contractor, kasi for whatever reason, no? So ang ginawa ng bagong contractor, gumawa siya ng sarili niyang daan. Paggawa niya ng sarili niyang daan, may mga nasirang mga ibang mga properties. And of course, hindi pa rin napag-uusapan doon sa mga ginagawa na yung proyekto, hindi pa napag-uusapan yung relocation and compensation ng kanilang properties. Pero ini-start na yung project. So nagreklamo sila, wala daw nakinig. Kinausap nila yung NPA. Sige, sunugin natin para tumigil. So merong pagtigil, natutuwa yung ang hindi alam ng mga tao, pag sunog yun, may kasama rin yung extortion. Sasabihin ng mga yung mga NPA doon sa mga nag-contractor, kausapin nyo yung mga tao. But para hindi namin isunugin, kailangan magbabayad kayo sa amin. So there is what we call duality of terroristic action. No? Merong ina-address na issue, but at the same time, merong nangyayaring extortion. And this is also yung nasabi to address yung sinasabing social injustice. No? I remember another thing, no, noong mayroon dati nung uso pa ang logging concessions, may inatake na isang logging concession, no? Accordingly, do sa logging concession na yon, of course may security sila. Pinagbabawal nila ngayon na mag-logging yung mga natives o mga na nandoon sa area. Accordingly, sabi nila, hindi kayo pwede mag-logging kasi yan ay illegal logging. No? Wala kayong papel, kami ang may logging concession. Ang sabi ng mga tao doon, paano kayong magiging kayo ang may authority magkiputol dito? Dito na kami tumanda. Ito na ang kabuhayang nakalakihan namin. But of course, yun nga, dahil may security, rin yun, na mga security guard, no, hinuhuli yung mga nag-allege illegal logging at nagsumbong ngayon yung mga natibo sa mga NPA. Sige, atakihin natin. So inatake, pag-atake ngayon, sabi ngayon ng gobyerno, military, protect yung job niya, ensure ma-secure yung lugar to prevent another incident like that. Pasok ang military. When we were talking to the people and sabi na, we are here to help you. Sabi ng mga tao, how can you help us? You are here to protect our enemy. Therefore, no, di ba? Therefore, you are our enemy. So minsan kung hindi mo alam yon na gano'n ang problema, you will be caught in that conflict. No, you will be caught unaware na yun pala yung issue. Kaya importante malaman ano ba yung issue, bakit nangyari yon. No, may mga sinusunugan ng equipment, yung pala may mga nasirang drainage o mga properties, ang sabi ng contractor, kasi wala yan doon sa program of works namin. Kausapin nyo DPWH para kung kanal yan, another project yung kanal. O ayaw nyo tumigil, di sige, tatawag kami na magpapatigil sa inyo. So, these things, minsan, kung hindi naintindihan ng ibang mga natin kasama sa sa society, minsan baka hindi nabibigyan ng pansin. And this has to be addressed not just by military, it has to be addressed not just by government, but be addressed by the community as a whole. No, and as I've said, military and government are portrayed as protectors of capitalists and big business companies. Na hindi naman sabi nga minsan kung hindi mo naintindihan, that may be the frame of mind ng mga tao na nandun sa lugar. Next chart. And so, as I've said, there are several reasons, no, sabi niya bakit nagpopulo. One, sabi niya, yung dapat makita natin yung history of conflict. Reports of previous injustices or abuse of people in power that yung magnifies yung sinasabing kailangan magkaroon ng struggle of the weak. No? And of course, there are grievances, no, unaddressed grievances to solve social problems. And kaya nga ipinapasok minsan ng ating mga joint insurgency that kailangan talaga sigurong palitan na ang ating political and social order. No? Kaya nagkakaroon ng ito, no? But other than that, sabi ko nga, there are other varied reasons, no, for joining. I remember may isang matanda na namin during one encounter na dahil matanda na nga siya, nagtataka kami bakit siya nag-join ng NPA. Nung nagkaputukan, naiwan siya ng mga kasamahan niya. So nag-surrender, nagtaas ng kamay, nagpuntuhan kami after that. Sabi ko, bakit kayo sumama sa NPA? Sir, ang totoo nito, sabi niya, merong siga doon sa lugar namin. Nagnanakaw, rito. Isinumbong ko sa mga otoridad. Nung sumbong ko sa otoridad, ako ang hinabol. So nagtago ako, umalis ako doon sa lugar namin. At nadaanan ako ng isang grupo ng NPA, tinatanong, nagtataka, hindi naman ako taga ron. O in-interview nila ako, bakit ka nandito? So sinabi ko kung ano yung problema ko. Sabi niya, o sige, kung gusto mo, balikan natin yung lugar ninyo, balikan natin yung tao nyo. So yun, pagpunta nila doon, ang ginawa ng NPA group, pinatay yung sinasabing bully doon sa lugar nila o sinasabing magnanakaw doon sa lugar. And dahil doon, he joined, no? Not necessarily may complaint siya sa gobyerno, but rather yung vengeance, yung vengeance na na-appease yung kanyang problema. And some other, yung iba, sabi, yung iba, alam nyo, sabi, whether you believe it or not, pera, no? I remember sa Davao, minsan magkakaroon ng movement ng, malalaking movement ng NPA groups proceeding to one area. So, ang unang report sa amin, sir, mukhang may tactical opensiba na gagawin sa ganitong lugar. Saan papunta? Iba-ibang grupo papunta sa isang lugar. Nung makita ko, papunta sa mining area. Sabi ko, pwede bang tanungin niyo muna doon? Meron ba daw nakahit ng magandang sabi nga vein ng And true enough, may nakahit ng magandang vein ng ginto. So magpupuntahan doon, no? Not only to join doon sa paghukay, but of course, kung hindi sila maghuhukay, to get extort money from the people na nandun, no, yung ating mga miner. So minsan pera, love life, sabi nga, nandun yung boyfriend, nandun yung tsuhin, minsan it becomes a family affair, no, and for varied other reasons. I remember itong chart na next chart, this one was produced by NEDA Region 13, Regional Director, no, nung si RD Popop Carino. Ang sabi niya dito sa kanilang pag-aaral, it is basic insurgency can be perceived as a resource-based conflict. No, so sabi nga we are talking about one piece of land. No, maaring for example, let's use an example yung ancestral domain, no, area. one piece of land, sino ba ang makikinabang dito sa lugar na ito? Will it be big business companies o the small business companies? Kung doon yan sa mga mining area, sabi, sino ba? Yung bang malalaking kumpanya na magkakaroon ng MPSA, yung Mineral Production Support Agreement, o the small miner, yung tinatawag na minahang bayan, no? Para yung mga locals ang makikinabang. And so it is conflict minsan between local, small, medium business groups or big investors. Pag big investors, ang application ng ng permit is national. No, national. Kung yan ay so the DNR gives the permit, no? Pagka small scale, yung binahang bayan, ang permit niyan ay local. No. Ngayon minsan may nabibigyan sa national government na hindi, of course, pag approve sa national, hindi nasunod yung ng local. Kaya local gusto rin nila na sana sila, no, pag national ang nasunod, ang tax niya national, ang policy is national, pero ang problema niya local. No, ang magsosolve ng problema pagka nagkaroon ng gulo doon sa minahan, no, ang sasabihin ng local government, pabayaan mo sila diyan kasi hindi naman nagbabayad sa amin yan ng tax, ano. No, so minsan yung the conflict between national and local governance, tapos small and big business interest groups, papasok pa ang civil society. Merong profit-oriented, cost-oriented, no? So all this, no, would like to have a hand on this small piece of land, no? And because of this conflict, if not resolved, no, ang biktima nito yung mga taong nandun. The people in the ancestral domain, the IP. So pagka nangyari ito, napakadaling ma-convince ang mga tao na bakit nga sila lahat gusto nilang kamkamin o gawin ng itong aming ancestral domain. Kung kaya napaka-importante na ma-harmonize yung effort ng national and local government as well as the effort of all other interest groups. Because these are the problems that will emanate from this are the ones being magnified, no, to create that discontent. No, sasabihin, kaya kayo patuloy na naghihirap dahil ang nakikinabang ay yung ibang tao. So yung ibang grupo na hindi kayo ang tunay na mga may-ari. So napaka-importante that the local government and the national government should be able to bring together all interest groups and talk about what to do and the dialogue with the indigenous communities or the people who own it, no, para ma-address ang issue. I remember noong nagkakasunugan ng equipment sa dun sa area ng Northern Mindanao when I was division commander. No, nagsunod-sunod yung sunog sa isang malaking plantation. No? And after that, nagtawag ang Cagayan de Oro ng chamber. Sabi ng Cagayan de Oro chamber, gusto nila mag-dialogue with us. Sige po, pagdating doon, nakita ko yung mga may-ari noong malaking kumpanya, combative stance na sabi ko, magandang salamat po. Kami tinawag ninyo rito, no? And I would like to dialogue with you. Tuwing may meeting kayo, isama nyo kami. No? Isama nyo kami. Dahil sabi nga, para mapag-usapan natin. Tuwing kailan po ba kayo nagmi-meeting? Ang sabi ng chamber, sir, once a year. Ayan po ang problema natin. Kung mag-uusap tayo once a year, o kaya pag may problema, ay hindi natin masosolve ito. Dapat pag-usapan natin. Kasi may nagsabi nga, nung nakausap ko yung mga andon, paano ba ang problema ninyo? So, i-secure natin dito. No, mamaya-maya, nung sinisecure yung kanilang event, may nasunog ulit. Tinawagan namin, bakit may nasunog? Wala yan doon sa sinabi nyo. Kasi hindi amin yan, sa subcontractor namin yan. Hindi ko alam nyo, yung sunog sa subcontractor at yung sunog sa inyo, sa amin pareho lang yan. Nasunog din. Dapat sabihin nyo sa amin na para mapag-usapan natin lahat. Hindi lamang yung interest ng inyong kumpanya. but all the other And bakit nangyayari 'yon? Kasi sabi, yung magkano ba ang kasi when they were a production company, kilala nila lahat yung mga tao, yung mga nagtatrabaho doon, they provided for them, merong school, may village, gumawa sila ng community, they built a community for them. So business became very profitable. So they have to expand. When they have to expand, they hired management. Ano ang role ng management? The role of management is create more profit. So how do you do that? Reduce overhead. When you reduce overhead, tanggalin mo yung unskilled labor. Yun yung locals. And magpapasok ka ng ibang grupo. Therefore, may labor unrest ka ngayon. Tapos, ang sabi nga, eventually sabi nila, wag na tayo mag-produce. We just buy the goods. Subcontractor na lang ang mag-produce. So, how do subcontractors earn? Kasi they will dictate, of course, the buying companies dictate the price. So, how will subcontractors earn? Reduce production cost. Reduce the cost of labor. So, imbis na 300 ang babayaran 150. Sa labor, imbis na, tapos ang renta sa lupa, would you agree, minsan, ang bayad ay 1,000 pesos per hectare per month, or 12,000 a year. Despite the income that they generate from that. Ang sabi nga natin, sino ang sasagot niyan? Is it government? Is it the military? No. Dapat makausap ang yung business community to come up with good business practices, yung fair trade practices. So this problem, nagkakaroon ng discontent, nagkakaroon ng labor issues, not because of government, not because of the military, but rather because of some other sectors. Next chart, please. And ito, sabi nga, pag tinatanong, kaya nga, ang magtataka kayo, bakit parati bang issue is IP, indigenous peoples? Yung mga, kung makita nyo dyan, yung kulay pink, pusha ba yan? Pink, Those are the mountain ranges in Mindanao, for those in Mindanao. Yung nasa leftmost, yung mountain range na yan, yung Diwata Mountain Range, which extends from Davao to Surigao. Yan yung, napakarami, yung sabi nga, mining area. Ang political division natin is ang boundary ng mga probinsya at ng mga municipalities, yung malalaking ilog, matataas na bundok, doon nahahati ang mga provinces. Kaya kung makikita niyo, yung nasa left side, for example, doon sa yung right of the Diwata Mountain Range, yun yung Surigao del Sur, Agusan del Sur area. Tapos dito sa left side, yung sa north, yung Surigao del Norte, Agusan del Norte, saka sa iba. So, yung boundary natin, actually, pag tinignan mo yung tinatawag na front committees ng NPA in Mindanao, ang centerpiece nila yung pinaka-boundary. Yun yung tinatawag nila, yung makikita nyo yung mountain range sa kanan, yung lower part yan yung tinawag nilang the centerpiece ng teritoryo ng Southern Mindanao Regional Committee. Yung sa itaas, yung Northeastern Mindanao Regional Committee. Yung nasa gitna. Tapos, yung Pantaron Range that divides Bukidnon or separates Bukidnon from Agusan provinces, from Davao provinces, yung Pantaron Range is the centerpiece ng North Central Mindanao Regional Committee. At dun sa ibaba, makita nyo yung Columbia Mountain Range that divides Sultan Kudarat from Cotabato and the Davao Occidental North Cotabato area. Yan yung centerpiece ng Far South Mindanao Regional Committee. At dito naman sa kaliwa, yung Western Mindanao Regional Committee, the mountain range that divides Zamboanga Norte and Zamboanga del Sur. So all mountain ranges, all IP areas, na malayo sa Kabihasnan, At ang sabi nga baka hindi naaabot ng ibang mga ng ibang serbisyo ng pamahalaan at malayang nakakagalaw. Kaya yung sinasabi nga sa inyo, nagkakaroon ng certain piece of territory na nagiging nila na bailiwick so that's would you agree would you to illustrate how hard it is to address doon sa may Davao area where I became brigade commander yung isang front diyan yung front 20 front 20 yan front 20 na yan yung front 20 covers 4 towns of 4 provinces belonging to 2 regions. The town of Boston of Davao Oriental on the southeast, tapos Lingig of Surigao del Sur on the northeast, tapos Trento of Agusan del Sur on the northwest, and Moncayo of Davao de Oro in the southwest. So 4 na towns from 2 regions and 4 provinces. So kung isosolve mo ang problema doon sa area ng Front 20, you have to bring together 4 municipal mayors, 4 governors, and the regional executives of 2 regions. Ganon ka-complicated i-address yung problema na yon. So they take advantage of yung political natin, because the government is yung political divide. At doon sila nag-ooperate doon sa areas on how napakahirap i-orchestrate na pagsamasamahin ang serbisyo ng magkakaibang ahensya sa magkakaibang lugar. Next chart please. And so ito sa kaya nga makita niyo the need for broad mass-based support. Sabi nga nagki-create from the underground mass organization, create ng alliance kung infiltration, not necessarily kasi minsan sabi pag alliance baka wittingly alam ng ibang mga grupo na sila ay kasama but sabi nga ito yung alignment of purpose ng underground na nag-i-infiltrate doon sa ibang grupo. Halimbawa kung mapapansin natin bilang estudyante, kung mapapansin ninyo, pag minsan, katulad namin, nung kami ay estudyante, ang issue then was Education Act of 1980. So, mag-rally doon sa, sa campus. Kung tataka ang issue Education Act, makikita mo may mga placard, ibagsak ang rehimeng US Marcos, tapos may iba pang mga issues na hindi naman ito yung pag-uusapan namin. Ang pinag-uusapan lang ay Education Act. Bakit mayroong mga ganito? Kasi nga, mayroong ibang grupo na pumapasok na hindi rin alam ng karamihan. So we have to to be very discerning na kung sino ba yung mga nakakasama natin. Na baka wittingly or unwittingly ay yun nga na-align yung ating purpose dun sa ibang mga underground organizations. Next chart, please. Now also, this issue, yung international solidarity work, that has not been given due attention. Alam na nagkakaroon ng mga issues sa yung hindi lamang to create a status of belligerency or international recognition, but also to gather resources or gather funds. That whether you believe it or not, merong minsan mga legitimate, cost-oriented international NGOs that provide yung mga support sa mga seemingly very laudable projects, but accordingly, meron ding napapanel na pondo papunta doon sa mga organizations. And that eventually, when they were asked to audit, makikita doon na hindi lahat ng pera ay pupunta dapat doon sa dapat na proyekto. So, nagagamit. And ang ito, this has been going on yung even during the 70s, ang government, fortunately in this administration, na ina-address natin ito, yung international international solidarity works ng kabila. Start please. And ito sa atin dito sa loob, I don't know if you've heard about the white area or red area. Yung red area, ito nga yung doon kung nasaan yung armed struggle, no? Yung armed struggle na nandoon yung doon klaro yung sinasabing mga tactical na opensiba, yung nagkakaroon ng building of mass base, etc. Pero sabi nga kung nandoon hindi nakikita sa mga kabihasnan, baliwala, kailangan nila ma-demonstrate yung kapabilidad na yan dito sa mga urban areas or white areas na tinatawag. And therefore, dito, yung mass mobilization, dito nangyayari, yung of course, and ang sabi nga, nasaan ba ang ating, saan ba makaka-recruit ng mga leader? With all due respect, of course, sa ating mga katutubo, minsan kulang sa edukasyon, ang bibigay ng edukasyon dapat yung nandun sa mga developed na mga cadres, who are usually nandito sa mga educated sector. And of course, yung logistics are provided forcefully or wittingly o kaya maaaring willingly na ginagawa nila. No? Kasi meron diyang mga negosyante minsan, dahil ang alam nila meron silang magandang relationship with the armed group, dahil malaking siya, sabihan niyo yung magbibid doon sa kabilang project, huwag na sila magbid, takutin niya na kayo ay susunugin niyo para makuha ko yung project na yan. Sometimes that happens, and therefore parang nagiging ito ngayon, arm yung to corner some projects. Next chart please. If only to demonstrate yung yung sabi nga yung sa legal struggle, yan yung open mass movement, yung mga rallies, protests and rallies. Of course, nandiyan yung parliamentary struggle, na yung alignment of yung mga interests. Then ang sabi nila, bakit ba ayaw ng peace negotiations? Alam niyo, isang malaking usapin din ito, kasi sabi nga, kung makikita niyo, the government has been successful in the other peace negotiations with the MILF, with the MNLF, with the RPA-ABB, with CPLA, yung Cordillera, with the other group ng yung RPA-ABB dyan sa Visayas. Bakit hindi kaya dito maging successful sa sa CPP-NPA? Because accordingly, the peace negotiation is a part of their legal struggle, dito may kaya nga magtataka ka when nung inorganize yung peace panel, the peace panel of government has to be approved by the other panel. When we were talking to our peace mediators, why do you allow? Sabi kong ganyan yung ang pinag-uusapan are those issues that have been raised by the other panel. Supposedly, in other countries, like in Colombia, the government is yung sinasabi ngayon disarmament, pag-uusapan yan ng yung leader of the armed group ng kabila, and of course the military. Bakit walang military doon sa panel? So ito yung mga issues na naging nakikita yung the peace negotiation is only an instrument of the legal struggle, and of course the international solidarity works. Next chart please. Ito if only to demonstrate yung sabi ko nga yung relationship between red and white area. During pag may encounter sa military tsaka sa halimbawa yung tinatawag na kapag nagkaroon ng wounded, halimbawa yung makita niyo yung SPA o yung contact na sa ngayon ng partido sa lokalidad ng tawag doon these are not armed elements, these are yung organisadong grupo na nandun sa community mismo. Pag nagkaroon ng encounter, may wounded, ang i-evacuate ng wounded, hindi armed group. Yung support, ito yung mga na-organized groups. no? Tatawagan nung SPL o nung contact doon sa red area, yung contact doon sa white area. O sasabihin, o sige, yung wounded, isakay mo, dadalhin mo yan doon sa ganitong lugar, no? Tapos imimit ka doon sa ano. So doon sa pagdating naman sa ano to sa mga kabayanan na kung saang safe house, ang magsasabi niyan yung contact naman galing sa bayan. Kung anong sasakyan ang gagamitin, siya rin ang magpo-produce noon. No? Kung saang doktor o saang ospital dadalhin, siya rin ang magsasabi kung saan. Hindi yun armed group. No? Ngayon, kung may na-capture o kaya may ano, ang mangyayari, mayroong legal ano din, ano, yung sabi magkakaroon ng fact-finding mission o kaya may ano, magtataka ka, meron na kaagad lawyers na pupunta doon na sila rin yung nagsabi na dito dadalhin, dito dinala yung ano, na-capture. I remember when I was commander, gano'n, ano, mamaya may tumawag sa akin, media. Sabi sa akin nung ano, sir, meron daw kayo nahuling dalawa na hindi ho, isa lang ho. Sabi yung gano'n. Sabi niya, hindi sir, dalawa daw. Isa lamang po. Tapos matapos ng tawag namin, sabi ko sa mga tao, hanapin niyo, meron silang nawawalang isang kasama. No? Na apparently, akala nila nakuha rin ng, ano din ng military. So, ang kumakontak niyan, hindi armed group, no? Yung party, organized groups doon sa komunidad. No? And ganoon din, pagka may rally, magpuproduce ng mga magrarally from the red area, yung contacts doon sa loob ng sa red area, at kung anong sasakyan dadalhin ipapadala noong galing sa white area. So, yung mutual support, no, from the white and the red area, and ganoon din sa extortion. Magtataka, bakit ito nabigyan ng sulat? Sino ba ang nag-identify dyan? Hindi naman yung armed group din. Ang armed group o kaya yung mga contacts na kumatawag, ang nagpo-provide ng information dyan, di yung SPL naman doon sa pabayanan. So, we learned na to be able to stop all this, hindi lang dapat armed group yung ang ina-address mo. Ina-address mo dapat itong mga organisadong grupo na ito. Na kasi pag nawala ito, problema ng armed group, sino ang magtatakbo ng kanilang wounded, sino ang magsusupport sa magpo-provide ng transport, kung may mga rally and all those things that I have mentioned. Kailangan i-address mo yung buong community na nagagamit dito sa kanilang activities. Next chart. And so sometimes also the seeming dysfunction before the creation of LCAP, no, na-exploit yung seeming, sabi nga, dysfunction or disconnect of government, of the government bureaucracy. Alam naman natin, no, the different agencies, have different policies, different priority areas, and different different activities. Tapos may mga agency din na kulang ng tao, mayroon ding basically incapacitated. And in some instances, mag-implement ka ng project, you have to weave through the capabilities of different agencies. I remember when I was brigade commander, yung Dole regional director approached me sa Davao Oriental. No? Sabi niya, sir, pwede ba tulungan mo kami? Meron kaming pera rito for training for livelihood project. Sabi ko, anong livelihood? Kahit na sir. Basta magki-create ng trabaho. Ganun. Sabi ko, saan lugar? O, sabi niya, Baganga, Davao Oriental. Tinawagan ko yung agricultural officer ng probinsya. Anong magandang natin doon? Livelihood program. Sir, maganda dyan. Ano bang target mo? Malaking lupa, maliit na lupa? Ay, siyempre, ang gusto kong i-address yung pag-aari ng mga maliliit na, yung may mga maliliit na pag-aari ng lupa. Ay, sir, mas maganda. Kasi pag malaking lupa, sabi niya, kakao. Kasi high yield. Pero kung maliit, pwede na chili. Kasi maliit na lugar lang, pero high yield din ang chili. Meron kayong pananim? Meron, sir, sabi ng agriculture. May marunong magturo ng pagtatanim? Meron, sir. No? Pero sabi niya, dapat ipaprocess. Gagawin siyang chili powder o chili paste, tapos iaayos ang branding. Marunong kayo nun? Hindi sir, kami marunong yan. Sino ang marunong yan? Sir, ang marunong yan, DOST. processing. Patawagan ko ang DOST. Meron ba kayo marunong magturo? Meron, sir. Pwede ba kayo magturo? Sir, wala kaming training fund. Hindi, may training fund ako. Problema ko lang ay magtuturo. Pati yung packaging. Hindi amin yan, sir. Kanina yun. DTI. So, kami, ako military plus yung LGU, tinanong ko yung LGU, pwede ba, sir? Hahakutin na mag-aano tayo ng training dito sa brigade. Pero yung mga tao galing dito sa mga ganitong lugar, pwede ba, sir, yung gasolina, ma-provide nyo kami ng additional gasolina kasi hindi namin, na ito, hindi kasama sa aking program. Sabi niya, sige, sir, mag-eleksyon. Sabi niya, sir, pwede ba ako magsalita dyan? Pwede ho. Sabi niya, sige, sir, magpo-provide ako ng leksyon pag opening o closing. So, imagine, yung programa ng DOLE could have not been implemented without the support of agriculture, without the support of the OST, DTI, LGU, and the military. No? Ganon kahirap sometimes, yung mag-implement ng project. And sometimes, baka hindi mo makuha yung support if there are interests o conflict of interest. Ano ba? Katulad niya, magpo-project ka doon, sabi ng LGU, naku, hindi mo kasama dyan, kalaban ko sa politika yan. No? So, minsan you have to contend with that, na paano mo i-address yun. Next slide, please. And so, before LCAP, sabi ko nga, nung nag-uusap ng the national government, ang ganda ng mga proyekto. In fact, nag-create ng clusters. Merong security cluster, human development cluster, merong cluster, economic cluster. But sabi ko nga, nung nagle-lecture noon, sir, pakibalik ko nga. Saan po bababa yung mga issuances ng iba-ibang cluster? Kasi sir, sabi ko, dadalawang council po sa region ang talagang gumagana dyan. Yung Development Council, which is under NEDA, nandyan pinag-uusapan lahat ng development programs. And the Peace and Order Council under the ILG, doon pinag-uusapan ng problema. Magkaibang ahensya, ang solusyon doon sa problema nandun sa Development Council. Kaya kung ikaw ay isang governor, saan mo gustong mag-chair? Sa Peace and Order o sa Development Council? Ay dito ka dapat sa Development Council para ma-push mo yung development agenda mo. Unlike in local government, pagdating sa probinsya, ang chairman nitong dalawang council na ito at saka sa munisipyo, ang chairman nito are the mayors or the governor. So, kaya nilang i-integrate. That's why before LCAP, when we were asked, how do you do that? And sir, we have to unify these councils so that the problems can be addressed by development. And that's why kung makikita ninyo, eventually part of the ng LCAP was the designation of cabinet oversight officers in the different regions to act as the regional to support yung sa execution at the regional level ng harmonization ng mga programa. Next chart, please. To integrate the and sabi nga in the past ang isa pati nakita, sabi niya, narinig niyo na siguro yan, yung whole of government approach. Alam niyo sa military, kumpleto kami nung na how to address the armed group, yung party, at saka sabi nga white area operation. But sometimes noon hindi involve ang ibang national government agencies, walang klarong programa na how to assist in addressing those issues ng national government agencies. And the same thing with LGUs. Example, halimbawa, nagkaroon ng rally, for example, sa Coca-Cola o sa ibang kumpanya. Ang sasabihin, military, address nyo yung mga realista, mga nagpo-protesta. Teka muna, dapat merong nag-a-address sa DOLE, kausapin yung kumpanya para masabing ano ba ang issue. At saka, siyempre, yung local government dapat makialam dahil mga constituents naman nila ang apektado rito. If only to illustrate. So, whole of government para mapagbuo yung national government agencies, local government, and of course, the security sector. Next chart, please. But meron pang binabanggit na whole of nation. Alam nyo, with all due respect doon sa previous administration, may ginawang task force WNI, whole of government initiative. Napakagandang inisyatiba. Kaya lang, sabi nga namin, nung eventually, hollow kasi pinag-uusapan sa national, walang mag-i-implement sa local. Wala mag-i-implement sa regional, wala mag-i-implement sa probinsya at local government. So, meron tayong whole of government approach o WGA, no? Pero ano ang role ng business sector? Paano na kaya sila mahatak na dapat may ayos yung makasama sa pagtutulong ng fair trade practices, no? Ang civil society to be there also kasi sabi nga pagdating sa information, hindi pwedeng gobyerno ang nagsasabi nito, no? Kasi pakikita na sasabihin bias o self-serving pag nagsasalita. Dapat probably a third party, media, no? O kaya religious sector, etc. to be the ones to have a balanced view of what is happening. Next chart, please. And so, over the years, sabi nga, from the time nung panahon ng Marcos era, no, na concept din was sabi nga fighting communist, mga models available during those times were winning the war, no, until nagpalit ng administration, noong time nung nagkaroon na ng sabi nga national reconciliation, no, yung NRD, National Reconciliation and Development Program, NRDP ng panahon ni President Ramos, no. But the concept din sabi nga is reduce firearms, no, balik baril. Na pag binayaran yung baril, basically quit na tayo. Pero ang problema, pag naubos yung pera, anong gagawin ng tao? Babalik na naman doon sa alam niyang dahil wala na siyang ibang pagkakabuhayan. No, so that's why nakita na dapat it should be a more comprehensive approach ng reconciliation and rehabilitation and reintegration. So from winning the war concept, pumasok na, no, over the years. Actually, nag-start yung concept ng social integration program during the latter part of the Arroyo administration. Na maganda yung konsepto, kaya lang hindi na nabigyang kasi it was already in 2008, I think, nung na-conceive yun. Kaya nung pagpasok ng Aquino administration, doon ginawa yung CLIP program, yung Comprehensive Local Integration Program, na naging mas comprehensive yung sabi nga pag-address ng concerns noong nandoon sa pagbabalik loob noong mga pumunta sa rebel groups. And ngayon yung sabi nga i-clip yung sabi niya enhanced comprehensive local integration program. So dito rin sa Winning the Peace nakita na hindi pwedeng military ang magli-lead nito. Pag sinabi hindi pwedeng LGU will support, LGU leads it, no? Kung makikita natin kung nasaan naging successful ang counterinsurgency effort, it is in those areas where the LGU took the lead and in addressing the concerns of the communities, no? So ang is more on peace building, peacekeeping, people-oriented approach, at naging mas open yung military before kasi yung nga, pag magtatanong, ano nangyayari insurgency, tanongin niyo yung military. Ngayon, hindi na ngayon. Pag tinatanong insurgency, it is the governors speaking on the status of insurgency in their areas. And the military is just a part of the overall effort. Winning the peace. No, it's no longer military taking the lead. No, it is now, the military is now only a part of the overall effort. Next start, please. And dito na nga, no, nung we are fortunate nung napirmahan yung National Task Force and Local Communist Armed Conflict in 2018. Next start, it brought forth the institutionalization of the whole of nation approach. Kasi nung ginagawa pa nga lang ito, I remember I was area commander. Sabi namin, sir, ano ang gagamitin natin venue rito to operationalize? We'll use the Peace and Order Council. Sir, baka mahirapan tayo pag yun. Kasi the Peace and Order Council meets every quarter. We want to end insurgency. We have to meet every day. We have to form committees to address the concerns of the varied concerns of the people in the conflict areas. So ito yung naging natin, yung creation ng National Task Force at nagkaroon ng laman sa region, sa provincial level, and to ensure efficient and effective implementation of the whole of nation approach. Next chart, please. And dito, sabi nga, winning the peace, tinignan yung ni-revisit yung ating enemy-centric strategy to not only to sabi nga, apply yung force, but rather more on yung yung ating left-hand effort to win them back. And of course, yung information campaign na napaka-importante. Addressing not only the armed group, but the whole population in the conflict areas, especially. And fully embrace the nation building and capacitate, of course, our people on the overall understanding of the conflict. Next slide, please. And so part of the strategy is yung strategic convergence of various government and non-government initiatives. No? And it is a people-centered approach, no, to establish conflict-resilient developed communities. Kaya pag tinatanong ano ba ang pondo dito, the funds are intended to address most of the concerns of people in the conflict areas. Next chart, please. Kaya ang organization ng 12 clusters, kung titignan niyo, ICLIP, ito yung sabi ko na sa balikloob, no, yung comprehensive local integration, and of course yung local peace engagement, yung dialogues, tapos dito sa kabila, andito na yung mga development initiatives, governance, capacity building, local government empowerment, infrastructure development, provision of livelihood, and of course, yung information management. Next chart. And sa akin, local, personally, sabi ko nga, ito pwede mong i-cluster into 4 areas no? Yung areas to address yung pagbabalik loob ng ating mga kapatid na join sa rebel group, tapos improving governance, tapos a provision of infrastructure and development programs. And yung ika-4 is strategic communications, information campaign, effective information campaign. Next chart. And ito, doon nga, sabi sa part of the strategy is a more comprehensive way of bringing the former rebels back to mainstream society. Bago ibigay yung perang suporta, hindi lamang to get their firearms, but rather the first thing is deradicalization. Mawala muna yung doubt, mawala muna yung galit sa kanyang kalooban, magkaroon ng enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment, no? Then eventually introduce mga livelihood options, and after that, at saka pa lang ibibigay yung support. But more importantly, dapat may follow through. And that's why sa Davao Oriental, when we were the first, yung itong halfway house concept was initiated, ang lead dito is social welfare. No, ang may hawak ng halfway house, social welfare, hindi sundalo, hindi local, hindi yung mayor directly, kasi pag yung mahirap yung araw-araw pagkabigay ng mayor, araw-araw nasa kanya, dapat merong nag-supervise on how to bring them back to mainstream. No? Next chart. And that's why in our effort, nung makita natin na hindi lang dapat regular armed group yung ina-address natin yung support element, yung milisyang bayan, no? Ito yung mga parang barangay police na tinreate ng kabila, no? Na may armas din. Actually sa Mindanao, yung mga nag-i-snipe at saka yung naglelay ng IEDs, milisya na lang yon, hindi na yung regular, no, naturuan. Tapos of course the party members in the barangay plus the members of the underground mass organization. Now when we were able to address this, no, yung makita niyo mas malaki yung portion doon sa support elements na na-address natin. We learned, next chart please, no, na over the years, in previous years, kung makikita niyo, the level of violence was reduced. No, yung areas na yung mga makita niya, yung ADS is Agusan del Sur, Compostela, no, yung Davao de Oro, Bukidnon, diyan yung maraming sunog in the previous years. No, maraming NPA incidents during those years. And mind you, during that year, wala ni isang nasunog doon sa lugar na yon. No? And such other areas as Surigao del Norte, Misamis Oriental, Agusan del Norte, Sultan Kudarat, na dating napakataas ng level na. Because hindi lamang armed group ang ina-address natin yung buong communities in the conflict areas. Next chart, please. Then also na-introduce din yung sabi nga, yung to transform the revolutionary highways na sinasabi to become peace and development highway. No, where all government agencies identified the projects and programs na ilalagay doon sa conflict-affected areas, and everybody agreed na pag may additional na pera, doon natin dadalhin. No, so comprehensively addressing the concerns, especially of conflict-affected areas. Next chart, please. And dito nakita natin ang naging epekto, no? Yung nasa picture na yan, si Dato Gibang, no? Dato Gibang Apoga. Siya yung leader ng Salugpungan Tetano in Canugon, which translates to unity of the tribe, unit of the tribe in defense of our ancestral domain. Si Dato Gibang umakyat sa bundok ito almost about 28 years ago, no? Nung dahil yung kanilang lugar, no, may mga pumasok na mga negosyante dahil hindi nila pinayagan, nagkaroon ng violent incident at sila sila ng arrest warrant, kaya umakyat ng bundok for more than 25 years. The first time that he went down was yung nando sa picture sa ibaba, no? Na magkaharap si Presidente at saka siya after several years, no, first time nilang magkita during the anniversary of Bismingo. Bakit siya bumaba? Because simply to address all the issues in their tribe. Problema nila ilaw, naglagay ng mga solar na rin doon, problema ng edukasyon, kaya nandun yung Salugpungan School, nagtayo ng DepEd accredited school dahil yung Salugpungan wala pa lang DepEd registration, and eventually he led yung kanyang grupo to go back to mainstream. And ito na, no, na siya ngayon. Naka-mainstream na yung kanilang, na-reduce na yung problema natin doon sa area doon sa Talaingon. Next chart, please. Now, in Davao City, ang ginawa naman ng Davao City, sabi nga, para mawala yung issue na, yung nandun ang military parade, nag-form ng Peace 911, si Mayor Sara. Peace 911, yung military police hindi kasama dyan. This is led by the LGU. Kasi ang problema sa Davao City, yung Pakibato area, ang sinabi lang nila, walang papasok na sinasabi mga groups na nagdadala yung proyekto sa whether from the left or from the right, doon sa pwede kayong pumasok, hindi kayo pwede pumasok hanggat hindi kayo dadaan sa local government. At pag pumasok kayo doon, kasama nyo kami. To make sure that yung sinasabi ninyong proyekto ay pupunta talaga doon sa mga communities na sinasabi nila. No? So, merong gatekeeper of all programs and projects. And at the same time, nakikita ng mga tao na nagsama-sama, nagtutulong-tulong yung mga grupo o sectors in improving their livelihood, while the military and the police maintains the peace and secures yung vicinity ng areas. Next chart, please. And ito yung pinaka ng LCAC, basically that demonstrates yung ng LCAC. When I was brigade commander, meron kasing yung Peace and Order Council. Ang sabi ko sa governor namin, magtayo tayo ng Community Support Program, yung CSP, yan yung military campaign. Community Support Program, Oversight and Advisory Committee led by the governor. Sabi niya sa akin nung una, hindi, may POC na, dito mo na lang gawin yan. Sabi ko, ma'am, with all due respect, ang sa Peace and Order Council, what happens? Magbibrief kami ng insurgency situation, may magtatanong isa o dalawa, then yung police magbibrief ng criminality, May magtatanong isa o dalawa. After that, tapos na yung Peace and Order Council meeting. But were we able to address the more substantive issues? Marami kayong tanong sa military. Marami rin kaming kailangan doon sa mga attendees natin na uma-attend, mga 50 to 70 people. No. So ang mga issues, ma'am, sa mga conflict areas, hindi naman security, issues of social services. Therefore, magtayo tayo ng Social Services Committee. Nandiyan yung yung ano to, no, social welfare, nandiyan ang Department of Health, no, o Provincial Health. Dapat mayroong Infrastructure Development Committee. Nandiyan yung Provincial Engineer, nandiyan din yung ibang may programa ng infrastructure, lahat ng mga agencies. Pangatlo, sabi dito, livelihood. So lahat ng mga may livelihood programs, i-orchestrate natin para napagtutugma-tugma natin yung mga proyekto. And pang-apat, ang sabi nga, dapat improving governance. O sino magli-lead niyan? Dapat the ILG and other local government. Tapos, ang pang-lima is information, awareness. Hindi pwedeng military, hindi pwedeng government. Dapat yan third party, media, youth o kaya yung religious sector. Para sila yung pupunta, pag may complaint against government, hindi, napag-uusapan namin yon sa oversight committee, ganito ang gagawin. At the same time, kung may ginawang hindi maganda, ipaparating nila doon sa committee meeting. No? So, the oversight committee became a venue for reporting. It became a venue for monitoring performance. It became a venue for participation and ownership. No, it became a venue for coordination so that we will have the same targets, the same timelines, and we are able to pull resources together. And it became a venue for information, advocacy, dialogue, and information exchange. Next slide. So, in conclusion, we need greater understanding and informed, coordinated, stratified, and collective action by all stakeholders to resolve this political, economic, and social condition. We have to have collective ownership of the peace effort by all stakeholders, hindi lamang participation but ownership, greater involvement. We need to stop also the notion of having nothing to do, of the fear of being involved. Sometimes some others are using the ties for personal protection or for some interests. We also need to, next slide please. We need coordinated, multi-level stratified information campaign. And as I've said, the key is the national and local chief executives leading the task kung kaya nandiyan yung creation ng national task force led by the president. And in all areas successfully created, sabi ko nga, itong areas na, these are the areas where the chief executives took the lead. And because ang tao susunod hindi sa sundalo, kundi doon sa kanilang elected leaders and the traditional and the leaders in the area. Next chart. So we have to have deeper understanding the deeper understanding, especially by the government and by the people in the conflict areas, led to the change in the approach from winning the war to winning the peace. And that ito siguro, may mga makikita nyo, may mga allegations by one group against the government against the other group. Alam nyo, in a conflict situation, there are two versions of truth. Gusto natin makuha kung ano ang tama. It should be established by a third party or a third body na walang bias, na walang prejudice, na para talagang maitama natin yung istorya. Maaaring may mga kasalanan ang bawat isa, pero dapat masabi na hindi pwedeng sila lang ang tama, yung kabila lang ang tama. Tama ang istorya at base sa mga tunay na pangyayari. No? And that peace and development cannot be discussed separately and napaka-importante and good governance. Next slide. At the end of the day, ang sabi nga, three things, sabi niya, have emerged in the study of insurgency. First is that there should be good cultural understanding of the conflict. And second, there should be reconstruction and development. Kaya kailangan yung balik loob program o yung clip program. And third is that the problem should be is to address the virtual territories of the mind. No? And that is why insurgency is a national security concern. And yun lahat. Maraming salamat and good morning.
Okay, thank you so much, General Madrigal, for your insightful, for your meaningful and insightful lecture, sir. And indeed, frequent communication, coordination, and awareness are keys in bringing various government entities, local communities, and other interested groups to work together for the betterment of our country. And also, it is very enlightening to understand different complications happening in bringing everyone to work together. So, hold on, let me just share my screen. Okay, wait lang. There you go. So, now let us hear. Okay. Oh, before I proceed, by the way, cadets, if you have any questions, please send your questions to our chat box, as well as for those who are watching via YouTube Live, please comment your questions, because this is indeed a very good opportunity to ask our honored guest speaker, General Madrigal, and also later our in just a few moments our another speaker, Dr. Cabaza. So you would like to take this opportunity and take this chance to bring out and raise out your concerns or questions in regarding this topic. So now let us also hear and learn from Dr. Cabaza on more information about the national security policy, as well as his insights and reactions to our topic today. So he is the president and founder of the International Development and Security Corporation. He is formerly the executive fellow of the Council of Fellows and previously the vice president for the Center of Research and Strategic Studies at the Development Academy of the Philippines. Now, he's also considered as the father of security anthropology in Southeast Asia, having written a lot of dissertation, and one of it is about the discourse and public. Dissertation about the discourse, and published a number of scholastic papers merging anthropology and security together. So he is a recipient of a lot of awards as well, a recipient of the CHED Faculty Development Scholarship and Angara Scholarship Awards in UP Diliman, and the Southeast Asian Regional Exchange Program by the Japan Foundation. He won the IFSSO International Prize for the Social Sciences Award for his legal propositions to amend the anti-terrorism law in the Philippines, and co-authored the book Perspectives on Terrorism in the Philippine Context, published by the UP Law Center Institute of International Legal Studies. So he is Professor Chester Cabaza. And cadets, let us give a warm welcome to Dr. Chester Cabaza.
Thank you very much, Camille, for your kind introduction. First, I would like to praise and commend the presentation of General Madrigal. Really, it was I'm so lucky to listen to his presentation, given the wealth of experience that he has had, and also with all the empirical data that he presented about national security and how it links to insurgency, basically. What I'm going to do is perhaps give some inputs on national security, and then maybe give some of my comments on the insurgency in the Philippines, so that we can have a more holistic more holistic understanding of these issues that is being presented. Can I share something here? First, I'd like to show you this, and of course, I want to mention also the presence of my kababayan, General Real Admiral Undersecretary Vic Agdamagder, and okay, you know, I like to believe that basically when General Madrigal presented about national security and the evolution of it from being a state-centric to a human-centric, and then all of a sudden he discussed about the life-centric propositions of national security. Basically, when we talk about security, the root word for security is secura. That means se means this is absence of threat, basically, and cura means to care. So meaning to say, when we talk about security, it deals about people and its society, and basically it talks about how we get rid from that insecurities and from threats and conflicts, basically. And it was generally discussed by General Madrigal on how a nation or society can achieve security in itself. And basically being a state-centric, because nations fight with one another. And then all of a sudden in 1990, further was this Pakistani economist. And all of a sudden he introduced this human security and discussed several dimensions also on how we could achieve human security. And what I like about which we will try to understand in our own culture in the Philippines, basically, I asked this question: do we really have a security concept in the Philippines? And being as an anthropologist, I finished my anthropology in the University of the Philippines in Diliman with my bachelor's degree and PhD in anthropology at UPD. And of course, I've been teaching at the National Defense for 12 years already, and still with the Defense Department as analyst, basically. So you see the bridge and conjunction of the academy and the military here. And for me, as a scholar trying to understand national security in the Philippines, I try to look at the words, because it says that if a word is present in our language, that means that it is present in our culture, as they say. So, nagtanong-tanong ako, ano bang ibig sabihin ng security? Itong lumabas sa aking pag-aaral, no? They said that it can be equated to kapayapaan, that means peace, or kapanatagan. It can be translated to being safe or secure, kaginhawaan, being comfortable, katatagan, firmness, stability, kapahingahan, peace, repose, quietness, and then katimawaan, liberation, emancipation, freedom. I think this is a Visayan word. And then there's the Tagalog word for kaligtasan, protection, katibayan, endurance, katahimikan, silence, and hinahon. Ibig sabihin, relax, and being diplomatic. You know, in the Chinese character of security, ang kanilang character of security is a woman inside the house. So yun yung pagkakaintindi nila ng security. So tinignan ko rin yung sa Philippines. Paano natin tinitignan yung security natin? We have a concept, among the Tagalogs, they have this concept of ilaw ng tahanan, no? Sa ating mga Pilipino. No? And usually the ilaw ng tahanan are the mothers. So that means that if there's an ilaw ng tahanan in the home, it feels stable and homey, basically. No? So tinanong ko kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng security sa atin. The National Defense College Alumni Association, they use the word katiwasayan. No? Kaya nga may concept tayo na panatag ang loob ko. No, you don't say panatag ang labas. No, it's it's a binary of loob and labas, because basically when we talk of security, there is this internal security and external security, and of which insurgency is a problem of an internal security threat. No, yan ang magiging discussion natin later on. So, panatag ba ang loob ng mga Pilipino? No, yun ang inaral, because basically when we talk about D&D, ano ang Tagalog ng D&D? Kaguraan ng panlabas kasi yan external basically siya, no? Tanggol ang panlabas, no? And basically we know for a fact under the Constitution it says that the military basically are set to give their of course their services to the Filipino people for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Philippines. Kaya nga lumalaban sila sa foreign aggression. Sila yung may responsibilidad dyan. Pero nakita rin natin na yung ating constabulary na binigay dun sa role sa mga PNP natin, Philippine National Police, na dapat sila yung puprotekta sa safety natin, no, sa panloob. Hindi nila natutugunan. That's the reason why they also ask for the support of the military. Kaya nga itong mga insurgency issues, terrorism issues, they seek for the support of the military also. Kasi hindi nakakayanan ng ating law enforcement, no? Kaya mas may credibility and authority rin kasi yung ating military. Kaya hinihingi nila yung tulong nila. That's the reason why we see military presence in other parts of the country kapag merong conflict, and we see their importance, and basically they exercise also their role in that field. So ngayon tinignan ko doon sa madalas na kinakanta ng mga dati kong mga estudyante dito sa National Defense College. They have this hymn, no? At basically hymns are part of or reflection of our culture because these are transcribed ideas, no? Parang mga tula kasi ito, no? And basically it reflects your aspiration. At nakalagay doon na ang katatagan ang tanging lunas sa katiwasayan ng Pilipinas. So if we try to translate it, katatagan, safety or security is the only solution to the national security of the Philippines. So ibig sabihin, with all the ideas on national security there na diniscuss kanina ni General Madrigal, that it has evolved into a state-centric to human-centric national security. Ibig sabihin, kinakailangan ma-secure lahat tayo. Because our country and we as people are basically insecure. No, marami tayong pagkukulang. Kaya nga tinutugunan natin itong mga pagkukulang nito para maging stable at secure tayo. And that is the reason why there is the study on national security. Bakit natin inaaral ito? Para ma-prescribe natin yung bansa natin kung ano ang dapat nilang gawin sa mga ganitong mga problema. And if you try to notice it, in the Philippines, we tend to have instruments of power na sinasabi, we use different dimensions kung paano natin tutugunan itong napakalawak na problema on national security. That's why there's a framework at the National Defense College which is being echoed by other military institutions and the police academies also. No? They try to copy on how to look at security, no, national security in the Philippines. It's part of the comprehensive security. Kasi there are different approaches when you study security. You have the cooperative security, common security, and then, of course, you have comprehensive security, which was initiated by ASEAN and Japan. At kung titignan natin dito sa Pilipinas, napakalawak ng ating lenses. No? There are 6 lenses or eyeglasses when we try to study security in the Philippines. Nandiyan yung political dimension, economic dimension, socio-cultural dimension, techno-scientific, environmental, and the military. So yung military, isa lang yan sa dimensions na inaaral natin. They are co-equal with other dimensions. Hindi natin sinasabi na mas mataas si military, no? Because basically nakita rin natin that most of the approaches na when we prescribe problems, especially in conflict area, is very military centric. At nakita rin natin na maganda yun for a short-term remedy, pero ang long-term remedy pa rin when we resolve issues supposedly is to address the socio-economic conditions of the people. We deliver the basic services. No? At yung ibang mga institutions rin like the Development Academy of the Philippines, na ginagamit nila ngayon yung paradigm ng development and security. And in the middle of that, there's the concept of governance. No? So, nag-evolve din yung mga schools of thought, no, when we study national security. But basically, the objective there is to really elevate our consciousness on national security. Of course, nagbabari din yung national security. Siguro in the succeeding webinars that we will have, iaaralin din natin yung international security. What happens to the international or the international community and how it affects the nation. But basically, dito muna tayo sa national security. And one of the problems that we saw, which was vividly and comprehensively discussed and presented by General Madrigal, was insurgency. I totally agree with all the presentations there that really it's a protracted warfare. Ano? Ang sinasabi nila sa Pilipinas na we have the longest insurgency in Asia or perhaps in the world. How come that we were not able to address it? No? And all of a sudden there were presentations, solid presentations on how to prescribe it. No, I agree na it's a whole of government approach. Tapos diniscuss din ni General Madrigal yung whole of nation approach. No, na even in the national security policy, na of course Undersecretary Vicente Agdamag is the expert on this. No, mas alam niya ito dahil yung opisina nila ang gumawa dito. I'll show you some of the provisions in that policy, no, so that you can have an idea of what we have. Napansin niyo na yung NSP, no, has a 6-year term kasi ito nga yung polisiya ng presidente, supposedly, no, kung how he should address the security problems and challenges of a country. But basically, what is the purpose of this national security policy? No, it's like the security doctrine. No, it's a map, a framework, basically a formal description of a country's understanding of its guiding principles, values, interests, goals, strategic environment, threats, risks, and so on. No? So, napaka-holistic. Yung dimensions na binanggit ko kanina sa inyo na political, economic, sociocultural, techno-scientific, environmental, military, halos nandito lahat, no, sa NSP na ito. Because basically, this is a tangible description of our strategic culture and of our aspiration. Ano ba yung gusto natin? Because basically, it addresses, the NSP addresses the dreams and aspirations of the ruler, of the president or of the leader. No, para kanino? Para ito yung gagawin niya habang siya yung namumuno. And definitely, the policy clarifies the behaviors and responsibilities of the state institutions. Para may mga parameters, ano yung standards na dapat ma-meet natin in order for us to achieve stability, prosperity, and security. So, yun yung nilalaman nitong NSP na ito. And basically, if you try to look at it, no, it was approved in 2017 that deals the dreams and aspirations for the country to have a more secured country. Of course, no, given all the security challenges that we have here. At basically, nandito rin yung 6-year roadmap. Yeah, what is the role of that? Basically, to provide guidance as we face pressing national security challenges in the coming years. Kasi nga, when we talk about security, meron silang word na sinasabi na VUCA. Nadagdagan na nga ng D, VUCAD yung iba. No? Anong ibig sabihin nito? Once you are conscious about security, you think that every events or themes or what may happen in the country is vulnerable. And then it's uncertain and complex, ambiguous. Ganyan ang personality ng security. And also nadagdagan ng it is also disruptive. Nagbabago. No? Like in the case of insurgency that General Madrigal presented earlier, nagbabago rin yung mukha ng mga insurgents, no, ng mga rebels. Dati nasa bundok lang sila. Ngayon parte na sila ng gobyerno, no? At in the future, because most of you and most of the population in the Philippines are from your generation, itong woke generation na ito, baka baka ma-penetrate na nila yung ano, virtual, no? Nagbabago. It's very evolving, nag-evolve din sila. And that's the reason why we need to be conscious also of what is happening in our environment, and basically with all the policies that the government is proposing and implementing at the moment, no? And the goal basically is to end all conflicts and lawlessness based on three distinct but interrelated realities. At the time when it was formed, of course, no, ano ba ang nangyayari, no? Definitely there was this proposal for ASEAN integration and ASEAN community, and basically it proposes economic prosperity for the region. And at the time, pinupursue din natin yung independent foreign policy, no, ng ating bansa. So those are some of the realities, no. I won't expound much on this because basically malinaw naman yung presentation kanina ni General Madrigal, and I'd rather have more Q&A for you, because I know for a fact that mas marami kayong katanungan kaysa dito sa aming presentation than what we are talking right now, no. Basically halos nandiyan lahat yung mga yung all-encompassing themes, no. Nandiyan yung political, economic, socio-cultural, techno-scientific, environmental, and military. And of course, definitely dun sa human security, it talks about the political, personal, economic, and so on, no? And health security basically, no? So nandiyan yung economic, infrastructure, and so on, no? So may 12 point national agenda yung dito. But all in all, that's the content of the NSP that definitely you can see it over the net, no. Ano naman ito, public information naman ito. So I won't discuss much on that, no. So babalik lang ako. I'll just give some of my inputs on the insurgency before we end my reaction. So basically that's it. If you try to look at this concept, no, of how we see national security in the Philippines, and who are the stakeholders and actors on how to prescribe such a long problem for the internal security of the Philippines. Definitely, no, you have different actors, and it is also us, no, meaning to say we are part of that solution. That I know for a fact we in UP have progressive minds, and we are very open to academic freedom, and we value that, being students, faculty members, and so on, no. Nag-aaral ako sa UP mula solid UPian ako mula college, masters, and saka PhD ko, at saka nagpa-part-time ako sa UP. I know how we feel, how we think basically. And vis-a-vis, I've been also teaching at the National Defense College, so I can bridge some of the gaps there. But basically, we are more open to progressive minds. And definitely, sometimes we are also red-tagged because of our progressive minds. But nonetheless, we are part of the solutions. If our messaging goes that we are part of the solutions, and basically even with the progressive minds, that doesn't stop us na kahit na merong mga elemento na gustong mag-recruit sa atin, no, when it comes to polluting our minds, kung malinaw sa atin na we give more emphasis to our country and to our people, because basically when we talk about national security, it deals with societies and people, no. This is not to disrupt the government or to bring down the government. It's our right to question some of the policies and some of the wrongdoings of the government. But that doesn't mean that we have the right, no, na pabagsakin ang gobyerno natin. Because basically, we know for a fact that we belong to one country, and we are Filipinos basically. And our goal is to make our country more progressive. Because kaya nga meron tayong security and development security. No? Because our goal is to make our country more prosperous. So that by the time it becomes like that, the more secure we are. And if we see our country more developed, more progressive, wala nang magiging insurgents. Wala nang magiging separatist. Because why would you condone violence? Why would you bring down the government if you are satisfied with the services of the government? And we as UP students, you vanguards, you have that role, big role, to make these dreams come true. Because basically we are trained in UP to work for the government and to make our government more progressive and powerful. Basically, when we talk about government, it talks about our nation state. So I'd like to end that way, and and of course we are open for discussion, and please do ask questions to General Madrigal, to me, and to our other guests here. Of course, thank you to Sir Kenneth also for being here. I'll give the floor now to you, Vanguard Camille. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Sir, kindly unshare your screen.
Yeah. One moment.
All right. So, okay, hold on. Let me go back here. Okay, so before we proceed to our question and answer, I'd like to do a brief shout out first to some of our participants and attendees here. Okay. So I would like to acknowledge the presence of some of our guests and broads here with us today. We have our Undersecretary Vicente M. Agdamag. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here and joining us today. We also have Vanguard Siegfried Fortune, class of 1978. Broads from UPLB, Vanguard Major Brooks Irioreta, 1994. Vanguard Major Yancy Manaog, 1999. Vanguard Lieutenant Edwin Rala, 1990. Sergeant Jessica Monton, 2018. Sergeant Marvin Apolinario, 2005. So, yeah, given your busy schedule, thank you again for making time today. Okay, so now we will move on to the question and answer portion. If you wish to ask or clarify anything, and again, kindly send your questions to our chat box, or for those watching via YouTube Live, you may put your questions on the comment section. So first, we have a question from Vanguard Siegfried Fortune. He's asking, is there an impact, if any, in the prosecution by the DOJ of known CTGs for violation of human rights laws in the anti-insurgency program of the government? Is this consistent with the left-hand, right-hand approach to quelling insurgency?
Thank you, Brad Sig, for the question. Of course, yung effort yung tungkol sa prosecution, especially of the ranking CTGs, is very important to establish truth in our claims, especially regarding the what transpired during the ang tawag nila yung cleansing, yung campaign ng intelligence na maraming mga namatay na mga regular rebels who have been suspected of being the penetration agents of the military, allegedly. No, so importante ito na ma-establish kung totoo ba ito o hindi. No, because if they are prosecuted, one is to, of course, bring them to justice. Second is to ito yung basic truth na dapat maipakita na the claim of government that the human right, the majority of these human rights violations have actually occurred will also be able to enlighten probably some others who are already in the organization or who may be convinced to go into joining the organization na posible o maaring nangyayari rin sa kanila sa ngayon. No, yung nangyari kasi noon was a mass mass cleansing program. But this still happens intermittently in the different areas. No, na meron tayong summary execution not only of regular members but also of those private individuals who have been suspected of providing information to government forces. And I don't know if kung merong idadagdag si Yusek Aldamag, Sam, mayroon po ba kayong maidagdag dito, Sam?
Sir, you're muted. Yusek Agdamag, you're muted. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. In fact, thank you very much for this invitation, UP Vanguard. I'm very proud to be part of this activity. Alam nyo, yung father ko is a UP Vanguard. Kaya nung sinabihan ako ni General Madrigal to join, without hesitation, always welcome. No? My father, when the war started in 1941, was a third lieutenant. He was a UP Vanguard. Kaka-graduate lang niya noong 1941. He was a third lieutenant during World War II. He was ang tama yung yung description, Vanguard, no, advanced guard. Nandun siya sa dinalupihan during the invasion of the Japanese, and 32 of his men, he was a platoon leader. So I'm very proud of my father as a UP Vanguard, at because of UP Vanguard, he was a expert, no, rifle and pistol expert. In fact, when he entered the military, he was a member of the Philippine team's 3 Olympics, no? 3 Olympics in the first one, 1960, then Japan, then Mexico. So he was an expert ang father ko, and because of UP Vanguard. So I'm very proud of my father. And he wrote a book, something like this, 150 Days of Hell, his diary during World War II. And nanalo ito ng US Congressional Medal. Sayang nga, hindi niya naabutan. No? He died in 2013. Anyway, regarding the legal aspect of NTF-LCAC, so we have a separate cluster, yung Legal Cooperation Cluster, LCC, no? And it handles, it's headed by Justice Angie Miranda. So all cases, no, filed by NTF-LCAC, nandito nakakonsentrate sa. So far, no, as I remember, unang-una yung Inupakan Massacre, no, in Samar. So ongoing against Joe Masison, Halandoni, and the rest of the top heads of CPP and NDF, CPP, NPA, NDF, no, existing right now. Then we have ongoing case against Gabriela because we had some evidences coming from EU, European Union, that they received some foreign funding during the 2016 election. Then there's another existing case against Kabataan, no? So those are, as far as I know, ito yung mga high-profile cases that Secretary Speron is leading against the CPP, NPA, NDF. And there are so many other criminal cases in the prosecution of the CPP, NPA, NDF, and all are nandito sa ating legal cooperation cluster. So maybe in some other events we can talk about the legal aspect of against the CPP, NPA, NDF. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your input, sir. So let us move on to our next question. Okay. Hold on. So from a cadet of UPLB ROTC, here's a question for both speakers. Is the influence of social media considered as a matter of national security? If so, how can we resolve it?
Yes, thank you. Ang isang dito, this is alam naman natin ngayon this is a new technology, na all of us are still familiarizing with, and not all of us, of course. Ang isang dito, we don't have a very strong laws on cyber security at the moment, ang alam ko. Although may ginagawa na dito. But the problem of minsan kasi not necessarily from the social media initially, but eventually it can be a channel kasi minsan lalong-lalo na for terrorism. We have seen in the past, even in movies, makikita ninyo that some are being influenced initially from pag nakita na you're interested in those, for example, ng ISIS, for example, eventually it gives them idea on whether are you in favor or not in favor, and eventually you will be brought to a more compartmentalized group, na eventually sila magana. And yun nga, on how to be able to monitor that is a very complex problem at the moment. And yun lang ang inaano ko, na all of us are bago ito. Not necessarily na sinasabi natin na kailangan bantayan lahat but we should be very discerning, especially on yung pagtingin ng mga or yung pag-join ng mga groups in the social media. Makita may mga small groups na you are asked to join para makakapasok ka doon sa circle nila yon. And dapat yun na napabantayan ng ating mga estudyante, na pag nakikita nilang medyo alanganin yung pinag-uusapan na doon, then there should be more aware of what to do.
Well, for me naman, what is the intent of social media? Yun yung unang tanong natin doon. Social media was invented for us to socialize. Because of globalization process, and the world has become a village, as they said. That's the reason why it was introduced to us, to have connections with our friends and families around the world. And that was the intent of social media when it was introduced to us. But humans have that insatiable desire to think of other possibilities, and they use it lately for fabricating fake news, and then for recruiting others for their own causes, in terrorism, and for insurgency recruitment also. So it has evolved. Then you have cybersecurity issues also, because we've seen that in Cambridge Analytica, in which the Philippines was the second most vulnerable country when it comes to cybersecurity. Then that's the point where we would ask now, is social media a national security concern or a threat? And then indeed, basically because of these circumstances that happened, then we could definitely say that it is a national security threat. Nag-evolve kasi at mali na yung pagkakagamit. Kaya naging problema siya. When in fact, sa umpisa pa lang, ang ganda ng pagkaka-imbento para sa atin, para mag-enjoy tayo at mag-socialize. Now, how do we resolve this problem? No, there should be regulations, just like in all freedom. No, mayroong limitations. Hindi pwede na pag binigyan ka ng isang kalayaan, gagawin mo lahat ng pwede mo. There should be rules because we live in a world where rules are important. Kaya nga rules-based norms tayo, no? Whether national or international and virtual. Same as true in social media, there should be limitations. At ang nakakatakot dito, majority of those using it are from your generation and are still underage. Then there should be rules definitely because you are the most vulnerable sector, stakeholders when it comes to using social media. So that would be my answer to that. Thank you.
And also probably attending webinars like this so that we can get to so that we can get to have information from reliable sources and be able to think critically whenever we receive news from social media.
Educational purposes. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for that question, Cadet from. Hold on. And then now we will have another question from UP Diliman ROTC Cadet Officer Candidate. This question is for Sir Chester Cabalza. How does our strategic history on insurgency war and irregular warfare affect our ability to respond to traditional security and the increasing trend of hybrid warfare?
My answer would be very academic because the actors really, the implementers are here, the experts. No, I have General Madrigal and of course Yusek Agdamag here. They are the best people when it comes to hybrid warfare. But nonetheless, no, it has evolved also, which we saw in Marawi siege. No, how we were surprised how our state enemies were able to were capable of doing such things that we did not know that they could do it. And all of a sudden you have also foreign terrorist fighters and they use all kinds of platforms, no, social media, electronic, and all the different forms of warfare there. And the military, from my own perspective, were so territorial, and they know some tactics and strategies from their own end, but were surprised of what these state enemies can do. That's the reason why hybrid warfare was introduced and studied also by many scholars. And also with our external security problem in the West Philippine Sea, our opponents also were using hybrid warfare and gray zone strategy, and it comes with different nomenclatures or calling. No, some would say the unrestricted warfare and so on. But nonetheless, it is just a common animal when you talk about that, because definitely they use different strategies and tactics. No, the same as true with us. Given all the complexities of these strategies that they have together, we have also to think wise. You are vanguards, no? Advanced dapat din tayo mag-isip, no? Labanan, we counter them. And during the presentation of General Madrigal, ang dami niyang counter-insurgency strategies, no, that he prescribed to us. That's how we should think. No, if the enemies will do these things very complicated, we also offer complicated and complex solutions, because there is no monolithic one single solution to this very complex problem. No? So I think that's my answer to that. I would also ask General Madrigal and perhaps Yusek Agdamag to share their insights on this.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Chester. Yung nga, threats are evolving. No, threats are evolving. Therefore, our ability to address those threats should also be able to cope with those changes in the kind of threat that we are confronting. And of course, strategies will always have to have a base. Yung basis ng natin is depending on the changing nature, no, Kung kaya when I was talking, when I was speaking about leadership last year or 2019, ang sabi nga, the important thing for leaders of of this century, the important thing is for you to have the ability to discern complex situations in a very fast manner, to be able to cope with the changes in the kind of complex environment that you are operating in, and be able to comprehensively understand the VUCA, the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, and the ambiguity of these things that are happening around us, and be able to prescribe the solution to this problem. So the military solution is evolving. Sabi nga, even that's why it's AFP. We now have a center for leadership, improving our also our volume of our best practices, that should be documented, because this is one itong isang kulang sa ng armed forces, the ability to document. Maraming mga best practices in the past na ikukwento, but have not been fully documented, and this is where the academy should come in, documenting all these things and be able to prescribe this, especially for future generations as references.
Yeah. May I add something? Dagdagan ko lang yung sinabi ni Professor Chester and General Madrigal. Yeah, during the Marawi incident, we identified 29 foreign fighters, and so it becomes Marawi was a hybrid war, fighters coming from our borders, from Malaysia, from Indonesia, and from our airports. In fact, now we have a special project with the United Nations. It's called Advanced Passenger Information List. So yung mga foreign terrorists now are being advance copied to our command center, dito sa Manila. So it's meron na tayong cooperation with the other countries, in the United Nations. Also regarding the Marawi incident, this week I gave this lecture to our students in NDCP at saka dun sa public safety, na there are 5 sources of funding. 6 months before Marawi, they were receiving foreign funding already, and we were monitoring this one. Unang-una, it came from foreign bank transfers, foreign bank transfers, kasi hindi siya umabot sa limit ng 500,000. It came in from small amounts, kaya hindi masyado na monitor ng AMLAC. So coming from bank transfers, coming from yung mga commercial, yung mga Western Union, mga Western. So may nagpapadala from Middle East ng money for the organizers, sina Maute at saka sila Isnilon Hapilon. Then coming from ito yung people na binibigay sa sa especially coming from Iligan to Marawi, may nagdadala ng ng pera, Then doon sa tinatawag doon sa mga cellphones, another source of funding, doon sa Smart and Globe, just say it, binibigay na. And the last one was there's a Muslim money transfer called Hawala. So ginagamit din ito. So these are the 5 sources of of international funds during the Marawi incident. So practically Marawi was a parang hybrid, no? Hybrid na we learn, no? These are the lessons learned we learn from Marawi, no? Professor Chester also mentioned about the hybrids West Philippine Sea, no? As you know, we're very yung National Security Council Secretariat, headed by Secretary Speron, we meet every Tuesday to discuss what's happening in the West Philippine Sea. So very current kami, no? And we give this report to the President and to the spokes, so he can disseminate what's yung mga current events, no? So right now we're seeing ang tawag nila is a gray zone, no? Gray zone strategy of China, or the what you call the cabbage strategy or the unrestricted warfare, no? Na ang ginagamit is not anymore the military or the PLA Navy or the PLA Air Force, but already the Chinese maritime militia, no? Maritime militia, if you see it's more than 200 ships sa West Philippine Sea, no? Na nagro-roam around West Philippine. These are the colored ships and vessels in the West Philippine Sea. They call it the CMM, Chinese military, Chinese maritime militia. Then you have the the Chinese Coast Guard, which is civilian in nature, and also the last one are the Chinese fishing vessels. So hybrid talaga ang approach ng in the West Philippine Sea. Not anymore ang PLA Navy and the PLA Air Force are already in the background. So that's what we're facing in the West Philippine Sea or South China Sea, East China Sea is what they call gray zone strategy. And this one is the one we're discussing right now sa mga conferences and meetings that we do every Tuesday. So talagang ang hybrid is really currently present, no? Right now in the South China Sea, East China Sea, and the West Philippine Sea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights, and thank you for your answers as well, Dr. Cabaza. Okay, so now let us proceed to our last question, because I know that we have a lot of questions coming in here, but we have to, because of the time, let us just accommodate one more question. So this question is from our chat box here. Insurgency is clear with regards to those bearing arms, but how can we draw the line between academic freedom and being accused of part of a CTG? I'll continue, okay? Recently, there was an article of CHED asking schools to rid libraries of subversive materials. How do we determine whether a material is subversive? Does possession of such material already considered as a threat to national security?
Alam niyo lahat naman especially our experience when we were in students in the university. No, naglalakad kami, mga nag-aabot. I don't know if it's still happening. Naglalakad kami, nag-aabot ng leaflets. You're asked to join some. Also, that's part of sabi nga yung being able to know what is happening. No, but of course, ang problema nga lang is your ability to discern whether yung hinahawakan mo are they considered, are they part of the propaganda materials that na nanggagaling doon sa perceived organizations, or are they still part of our learning as students, kasi Yan na nga ang minsan insurgency tries to, sabi nga, of course they are able to, they know that yung ng youth, yung idealism of the youth sometimes is being exploited. And dapat sa estudyante, merong saying na sabi, sa prayer, di ba? God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Siguro ito something to guide us ng may mga bagay na magandang malaman, na maaring makita mo kung kung malaman kung maganda o tama ba o mali. Then within your means, constructively, kaya ko bang tumulong para mabago ito? And along with with my colleagues. But sometimes there are things na within your means hindi mo kayang baguhin, eventually come up with some other yung tingnan hanggang saan ka pwedeng makatulong. But there are things that sabi nga beyond what you can do, and but yung nga lang sana paano mo ma-channel doon sa mga taong pwedeng makatulong at makagawa dito. So now, ito nga, I've been students, we've been exposed to attending itong mga symposium, etc., part of learning. But when you are being asked to join some small groups already, and talking about doing more drastic or more radical actions, and will be pulling you out from what you are supposed to do as students, which is to finish your education and become productive productive members of the society. Dapat medyo na natin ito, medyo doon discern natin at mailagay natin yung sa tamang perspektibo yung ating magiging aksyon. Siguro yun lang ang aking masasabi.
Okay. Si General Agdam, si Yusek Agdamag muna before ako. Sige.
Yeah. The question is very important, kaya I want to answer it, because it's the subversive materials we're experiencing them right now in the I think in the 3 state universities, yung Ifugao, basta 3 state na pinagbawal ng mga presidents. First of all, the Constitution of the CPP-NPA-NDF of 2016 really specified the overthrow of the existing government, through armed struggle. So that's very clear sa Constitution ng CPP-NPA-NDF. They want to change our form of government, from from a democratic form of government into a communist government. So that's very clear sa kanilang Constitution of 2016. Pangalawa, meron tayong organization, it's called Anti-Terrorism Council, ATC. And CPP-NPA-NDF in 2 separate occasions, designated this communist terrorist group as terrorists, in a resolution coming from the Anti-Terrorism Council. Kasi yun ang ng Anti-Terrorism Council of 2020. It should be designated before bago pumunta sa courts, no. So very clear na designated by the Anti-Terrorism Council into separate solutions. So may kumbaga may basihan, no, why these subversive materials coming from communist terrorist groups or coming from the CPP, NPA, NDF can be declared subversive at pwedeng stop ng officials of the state universities. Thank you very much.
For me naman, no,
Magdagdag lang ako, Prof. Ano?
yes, sir. Go ahead,
Dagdag ko
please.
lang. By the way, isa pating no, sana natin. Magtataka yung lalong-lalo na yung para magkaroon ng balancing pananaw ang ating mga estudyante. Dapat magkaroon ng healthier exchange of information or exchange of or dialogue between students and the government and of course the military. No, kung naalala natin, no, noong sabi hindi pinapayagan nung when I was commander doon sa Eastern Mindanao, tinatanong ko din yung CHED tungkol dito, no. Nasabi ko bakit kaya diyan na sabi ko, of course ina-allow na na magpunta doon sa mga schools itong ibang grupo na doon mag-stay on mag-stage ng kanilang maglabas ng kanilang mga hinaing. But why is the military not allowed also to come in to also present the other side of the coin? No, para magkaroon din yung estudyante natin ng balancing pananaw. Hindi lamang yung isang yung isang perspective ang kanilang nakikita. Pero ang inaisagot sa akin kasi noon Sir, that's within academic freedom and hindi namin trabaho 'yan. Sabing gano'n as long as the student does not step on the foot of another student, that's within the bounds of academic freedom. Sabi ko, yan sir ang problema natin. Kung lahat tayo ay hanggang doon lang sa mandato natin, ay talaga hindi natin matatapos ito. How can you also give opportunity for the government to also be able to present the other view on what is happening as presented by the other. Yun lang. Thank you.
Thank you for that, sir. Of course, no, General Madrigal, no. I'll take off from that conversation. I have 3 points only. No, one is free will and discernment. We should be lucky that, of course, no, you UP Vanguards and we from UP, no, we are blessed with critical thinking, and whenever we receive some notes and these publications, and definitely it's up to us to decide whether or not to join or not to join. But sometimes, of course, no, tendency-wise, because of course it was already mentioned, yung idealism, youthful idealism, there's a tendency that we become extremists also. No? So the point there is we have discernment, we study it, and tama yung sinasabi kanina, I've seen from the chat box, sinasabi ni Vanguard Kenneth that we have critical thinking in UP, but at the end of the day, we graduate and contribute for the nation building. Yun dapat yung isa puso natin, because basically we should be proud and happy that the taxpayers are paying for our education. Then let's give back what is due to them. No, and what is due to them is progress and development for our country. Secondly is, of course, no, dialogue. It was already discussed by General Madrigal. I think this is the high time that we talk, we discuss. With all the strategic messaging communication, there is a need for us to defend ourselves. No, the military has to talk and discuss things that they have to be accountable to the people, no? At kailangan nilang isabihin kung ano yung side din nila. Same as true that they also have to listen, no, to other stakeholders. It's a healthy exercise, no, and that's very democratic. No one is definitely stopping us from doing that. And of course, from the chat box also, this discourse, this virtual webinar is a good exercise of the dialogue. Nag-uusap tayo ngayon and we hear different perspectives and we learn from each other. And that's the way to synthesize it. You have thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. That's a dialogue works, no? And then everybody is given a floor to talk and we synthesize in a peaceful manner. And lastly, I think is about the aspiration. What do we want for our country? It brings us to our national interests. Each one of us should also have an idea of what national security is all about. And you should be happy today, you students, UP Vanguards, that you have now this idea of national security concept. No, we've been trying to echo this to different stakeholders, from students in high level. And now even in UP, I have a course in political anthropology, and we discussed national security as part of the discourses and the dialogues and conversations, so that they can have these ideas using different lenses on how to solve different issues, security issues. So I hope that these kinds of prescriptions will help our government and definitely will bridge the perceptual differences of the academe and the military. Maraming salamat po.
Yes, indeed. And we are all here to work towards one goal, which is for the good of our country. And by the mere fact that cadets, you are all enrolled in UP ROTC, and just by that, you are showing your concern towards our country. So thank you for participating in our webinar today. And I've received a lot of interesting questions. And so I also think that it's important that we answer these questions. So maybe Sir Dr. Cabaza and General Madrigal, maybe I can send these questions over to you. And then after that, cadets and participants, if you are interested in knowing the response, we will post this on our Facebook page. So the Vanguard Leadership Series has a Facebook page. So you just have to like and follow, and then you will give you a follow-up there. Okay. So yeah, wait. So now let us wait, hold on. So now today we are indeed very grateful and honored to have our speakers today, and we would like to call on our invite our chapter commander, Vanguard Kenneth Hartigan-Go, to present our appreciation to our speakers.
Thank you, Brother Camille, for excellent hosting and passing the floor to me. In grateful recognition for being a rector and panelist in our activity this morning, I'd like to present our certificate of appreciation to Dr. Chester Cabalsa. Maraming salamat po, and this will be sent to you.
Thank you, sir.
And then following this, the UP Vanguard, the Makati chapter, on behalf of our organization, would like to present this plaque of appreciation to General Benji Madrigal for spending time as a resource person in this inaugural Vanguard Leadership Series number 2. Maraming salamat po. This will be passed on to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. And right now, hold on, let me just share my screen again. Okay, right now, cadets hold on. Are you able to see my screen? Wait lang. Oh no, what is happening? Okay, there you go. Okay, there you go. So cadets, for those who have attended today, kindly scan the QR code here on my screen for the post-event Google form that we would like you to answer. Also, the national security department also has a Google form in which they would like you to answer as well. So I'll also post that on I'll probably send it through your cadet officers and through the cadets, through your cadet officers and platoon leaders. And then so that you could also answer that. So that is 2 forms. So 2 feedback forms, please. And there, you'll also receive your e-certificate at the end of this Google form. All right. So we look forward to seeing all of you on our next session. And that will be, And that will be on November 27th. And stay tuned to our publicity materials and announcements to our next webinar session again. All right, so now let's please rise to sing the UP hymn, UP Naming Mahal. There you go. Thank Okay, thank you everyone for your attendance today. And that is all for our webinar session. Thank you, Sir General Madrigal and Sir Dr. Cabaza and Yusek Vicente Agdamag. Sir, thank you so much for your participation in our webinar today.
Thank you.
Thank you, sirs.
Thank you. Thank you, cadets.
Salamat. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Agdamag.
I can.
Oh, long time no see, sir.
Long time no see, Ken.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You have
sir.
my number, right? You have my number?
Yes, sir. I do. You keep well, sir.
Yeah, mag-ano tayo. Mag-text tayo, Ken.
Yes.
Okay. See you again. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, cadets, for joining. Bye-bye.
Can leave now po, sir.